The massive crystalline chamber of the Galactic Council buzzed with the harmonized voices of 1,000 different species. Representatives from across the galaxy had gathered for the annual military assessment, where each civilization would demonstrate their finest warriors and tactical capabilities. The air shimmered with translation fields as dozens of languages merged into a cacophony of diplomatic chatter. At the center of the vast hall, the Zephyrian High Commander Veltar stood behind a podium made from compressed stellar material. His silver carapace gleamed under the artificial suns that provided light for the various species present. With 4 arms and compound eyes that could track multiple targets simultaneously, Veltar was considered one of the finest military minds in the known galaxy. Esteemed colleagues, his voice resonated through the chamber's acoustic enhancement systems, today we witness the culmination of another cycle's military demonstrations. We have observed the Korthak battle formations, admired the Silithian stealth technology, and marveled at the draconian orbital bombardment capabilities. Murmurs of appreciation rippled through the assembly. Each species took pride in their military achievements, having evolved unique approaches to warfare based on their biological advantages and environmental challenges. The Korthak, with their chitinous armor and hive mind coordination, could deploy thousands of warriors in perfect synchronization. The Silithians could bend light around their ships, making them nearly invisible to conventional sensors. The Draconians commanded weapons that could crack planets. However, Veltar continued, his compound eyes glinting with what might have been amusement among his species, we must also acknowledge the unique presentation from our newest members. A wave of barely suppressed laughter rolled through the chamber. In the human delegation section, Ambassador Sarah Chen felt her jaw tighten as she maintained her diplomatic composure. Beside her, General Marcus Rodriguez's weathered face remained stoic, though his knuckles had gone white where he gripped his chair's armrest. The human military demonstration had not gone according to plan. Earth's representatives had prepared extensively, showcasing their most advanced technology and elite forces. They had demonstrated their nuclear capabilities, their cyber warfare divisions, and their special operations teams. Everything had been proceeding smoothly until the live fire exercise. Sergeant Tommy Mitchell, a decorated marksman from the 75th Ranger Regiment, had been selected to represent Earth's precision shooting capabilities. The target was a simple one by Galactic standards, a metallic disc roughly the size of a dinner plate, positioned 3 kilometers away in the demonstration arena's low-gravity environment. Most species could hit such targets with their standard infantry weapons, guided by sophisticated targeting systems and enhanced sensory organs. Tommy had stepped up to the firing line with his modified M24 sniper rifle, a weapon that seemed primitive compared to the energy-based systems other species used. He had taken his position, controlled his breathing, and squeezed the trigger with the same precision that had made him legendary among Earth's military elite. The bullet had missed. Not by much, perhaps less than 2 centimeters, but in a gathering where precision was measured in millimeters, it might as well have been a complete failure. The projectile had sailed harmlessly past the target and embedded itself in the arena's barrier wall with a dull thunk that echoed embarrassingly through the suddenly silent chamber. The silence had lasted exactly 2.3 seconds before the first Korthak had made a chittering sound that their species used to express amusement. Within moments, the sound had spread through the chamber like wildfire. Different species expressed humor in various ways. The Silithians produced harmonic frequencies, the Draconians released small puffs of superheated gas, and the crystalline collective created tiny light displays that flickered like laughter made visible. But it was the collective response that stung the most. A human, representing a species that prided itself on individual skill and determination, had failed at something that was considered elementary by galactic standards. The implications were immediately clear to every being in the chamber. If humans couldn't even hit a stationary target, how could they possibly contribute meaningfully to galactic defense? Veltar's voice had carried across the chamber with diplomatic neutrality, but the underlying message was unmistakable. Perhaps our human colleagues would benefit from additional training with more advanced targeting systems. We understand that developing species often struggle with precision-based tasks until they have fully integrated with galactic technology standards. Ambassador Chen had responded with grace, acknowledging the miss as a learning opportunity and expressing gratitude for the Council's patience with Earth's developing military capabilities. Her words had been perfectly diplomatic, but inside, she burned with frustration. Earth had sent their absolute best, and through a combination of nerves and perhaps simple bad luck, they had been made to look incompetent in front of the galaxy's military elite. General Rodriguez had said nothing during the immediate aftermath, but his mind was already working. He had spent 40 years in various combat zones across Earth, from the deserts of the Middle East to the jungles of South America. He had seen what human soldiers could accomplish when properly motivated and given clear objectives. The miss wasn't representative of human capability. It was an anomaly, a statistical outlier that had occurred at the worst possible moment. Following the demonstration, the human delegation had endured 3 days of condescending advice from various council species. The Korthak offered to provide elementary targeting software that they typically used for their juvenile warriors. The Silithians suggested that humans might be better suited for support roles rather than frontline combat positions. Most insulting of all, the Draconians had offered to take Earth under their protection, implying that humanity was too primitive to defend itself effectively. Each offer had been politely declined, but the damage to Earth's reputation was already spreading beyond the council chambers. News of the human military failure was transmitted across galactic communication networks, becoming a source of amusement from the core worlds to the outer rim territories. Humans were becoming known not for their potential or their unique perspectives, but for their inability to perform basic military tasks. The situation became even more frustrating when the humans learned about the betting pools that had emerged in various galactic establishments. Bookmakers were offering odds on whether humans would be able to successfully complete simple military exercises, with most bets favoring continued failure. The species that had once been curious about Earth's potential were now viewing humanity as comic relief. Ambassador Chen found herself dealing with increasingly patronizing diplomatic exchanges. Trade negotiations that had been proceeding favorably suddenly included clauses about technical assistance and supervised development programs. Military cooperation agreements were rewritten to cast humans in purely advisory roles, despite Earth's significant experience in various forms of warfare. The most galling aspect was that none of the galactic species seemed to understand what had actually happened during the demonstration. They viewed the miss as evidence of systemic human incompetence rather than an isolated incident. When human delegates tried to explain their species' actual military capabilities, they were met with polite skepticism and barely concealed amusement. General Rodriguez had requested permission to organize a follow-up demonstration, but the Council's response had been diplomatically dismissive. They suggested that humans focus on developing their technological base before attempting another military showcase. The subtext was clear. Earth had been given its chance and had failed spectacularly. But Rodriguez wasn't ready to accept that assessment. He began quietly reaching out to contacts within Earth's special operations community, looking for volunteers who might be interested in an unofficial demonstration of human capabilities. The mission parameters were simple. Prove that the first demonstration was not representative of human military potential. The challenge was that any second demonstration would need to be significantly more impressive than hitting a stationary target at 3 kilometers. The galactic community now expected humans to fail, which meant that success would need to be overwhelming to change their established perceptions. Rodriguez began developing scenarios that would showcase not just human accuracy, but the tactical thinking and adaptability that made Earth's military forces truly dangerous. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, various species continued to share stories about human clumsiness. The missed shot had become a cultural touchstone, referenced in entertainment media and used as an example in military academies of how not to perform under pressure. Comedians from a dozen different worlds were incorporating human incompetence into their routines, much to the delight of audiences who found the concept of a species failing at basic marksmanship to be endlessly amusing. Unknown to the galactic community, their mockery was being carefully documented by human intelligence services. Every joke, every disparaging comment, every casual dismissal of human capabilities was being recorded and analyzed. Earth's leaders were building a comprehensive picture of how their species was perceived, and more importantly, how that perception could be used to their advantage. The stage was being set for a demonstration that would fundamentally change how the galaxy viewed humanity. But first, Rodriguez needed to assemble a team that could deliver results that would silence the laughter and replace it with something far more valuable: respect, born from recognition of genuine capability. The hunt for the perfect operatives had begun. 3 weeks after the humiliating demonstration, General Rodriguez sat in a nondescript conference room buried deep within the Pentagon's sublevels. The room was designed to be completely secure from any form of electronic surveillance, its walls lined with materials that could block even the most advanced scanning technologies known to Earth's intelligence agencies. Around the table sat 6 individuals who represented the absolute pinnacle of human military capability. To Rodriguez's right sat Captain Elena Vasquez, formerly of the Army's Delta Force and currently one of Earth's most accomplished snipers. Her official record listed 47 confirmed kills across 3 different conflict zones, but Rodriguez knew the actual number was significantly higher. Elena had a gift for reading wind patterns and atmospheric conditions that bordered on supernatural, able to calculate trajectories in her head faster than most computers could process the data. Across from Elena sat Master Sergeant David Kim, a Marine Corps scout sniper whose specialty was extreme long-range shooting. David held the unofficial record for the longest confirmed kill shot in human military history, a 3,400-meter engagement that had eliminated a high-value target during the Syrian conflict. His understanding of ballistics was so precise that he could compensate for the rotation of the Earth when calculating shots over extreme distances. Next to David was Lieutenant Colonel James "Ghost" Morrison, a British SAS operative on loan to the Joint Task Force. James specialized in urban warfare and had spent the better part of the last decade operating in environments where a single missed shot meant the difference between mission success and catastrophic failure. His psychological profile indicated an almost inhuman ability to remain calm under extreme pressure. The 4th member was Captain Yuki Tanaka from Japan's Special Forces Group, whose expertise lay in technological integration and adaptive targeting. Yuki could work with any weapon system ever manufactured, making real-time adjustments to equipment and tactics based on environmental conditions. She was the human who could make any rifle perform beyond its theoretical capabilities. The 5th person at the table was perhaps the most unusual choice: Sergeant First Class Maria Santos, a former Army Ranger whose primary qualification was her ability to train others. Maria had spent 5 years at the Army Marksmanship Unit, working with soldiers who had been written off as hopeless cases and transforming them into expert marksmen. If the mission required teaching others, Maria was the person who could make it happen. Finally, there was Colonel Alexandra Petrov, a Russian Spetsnaz operative whose psychological warfare expertise had earned her a reputation as someone who could get inside her opponent's head and manipulate their expectations. Alexandra understood that warfare wasn't just about superior equipment or tactics. It was about convincing your enemy that resistance was futile before the first shot was ever fired. "Ladies and gentlemen," Rodriguez began, his voice carrying the weight of authority earned through decades of command, "you've all been briefed on the political situation. Earth's military reputation has been severely damaged, and our standing within the Galactic Council has been compromised. Traditional diplomatic channels have proven insufficient to address the problem." Elena leaned forward slightly, her dark eyes focused intensely on the general. "Sir, with respect, one bad shot doesn't define our entire species' capabilities. What exactly are we being asked to do here?" Rodriguez activated a holographic display that filled the center of the table with a three-dimensional representation of a star system roughly 40 light-years from Earth. The system contained 7 planets, with the third being a world designated as Kepler 442b in human astronomical databases, but known to the galactic community as Nexus Prime. Nexus Prime is hosting the annual Galactic Military Games in 6 weeks, Rodriguez explained. Every major species sends their elite units to compete in various combat scenarios. The games are broadcast across the galaxy and are watched by billions of beings. They represent the single largest showcase of military capability in known space. David studied the display carefully, noting the tactical implications of the planetary layout. "And Earth wasn't invited to participate because of our recent performance?" "Correct. The Council determined that human forces weren't sufficiently developed to compete meaningfully against galactic standard military units. However, our intelligence sources have confirmed that the games include several precision shooting competitions that would be well-suited to human capabilities." James spoke up with his characteristic British understatement. "I'm assuming we won't be receiving formal invitations to attend these competitions?" Rodriguez's smile was predatory. "The games include provisions for demonstration events, where non-participating species can showcase emerging capabilities. These demonstrations are typically used by developing civilizations to prove they're ready for full inclusion in the galactic military structure." Alexandra's expression showed she understood the implications immediately. "You want us to request a demonstration slot and then use it to prove that the previous failure was an anomaly?" "Not exactly," Rodriguez replied. "I want you to request a demonstration slot and then use it to prove that the previous failure was intentional misdirection." The silence that followed was profound. Each of the operatives was processing the implications of what Rodriguez had just suggested. The idea that Earth had deliberately performed poorly during the Council demonstration was audacious beyond measure, but it would also recontextualize everything that had happened since. Maria was the first to speak. "Sir, you're suggesting that we convince the galactic community that Sergeant Mitchell's miss was part of a deliberate strategy to lower their expectations?" "I'm suggesting that we demonstrate capabilities so far beyond what they witnessed that they'll have no choice but to reassess their entire understanding of human military potential," Rodriguez clarified. "The miss becomes irrelevant when it's overshadowed by performance that exceeds galactic standards." Yuki pulled up technical specifications on her personal tablet, reviewing the known parameters of galactic military competitions. The precision shooting events typically involve targets at distances up to 5 kilometers, with various environmental challenges like atmospheric interference and moving platforms. Standard galactic military units achieve roughly 85% accuracy under these conditions. "And what do you estimate human capabilities to be under similar conditions?" Rodriguez asked. Elena answered without hesitation. "With proper equipment and preparation, we should be able to achieve near-perfect accuracy." Human physiology actually provides several advantages for precision shooting that most galactic species lack. David nodded in agreement. "Our binocular vision gives us superior depth perception, and our opposable thumbs allow for more precise weapon manipulation. Most importantly, human combat training emphasizes individual decision-making and adaptability, which means we can adjust to changing conditions faster than species that rely on technological assistance. Rodriguez brought up another display showing the specific events that would be available during the demonstration period. The games include 3 precision shooting competitions that we could potentially enter. The first is a standard accuracy test at various distances. The second involves shooting moving targets from a moving platform. The third is what they call the Impossible Shot Challenge. James studied the third event's parameters with interest. What makes it impossible? The target is a reflective sphere roughly 10 centimeters in diameter, positioned at a distance of 7 kilometers. The shooter must hit the target while it's moving in an unpredictable pattern, guided by an AI that actively tries to avoid incoming projectiles. The environmental conditions include variable gravity, atmospheric distortion, and electromagnetic interference. Alexandra whistled softly. And galactic species attempt this why? Because completing the Impossible Shot Challenge grants the winning species significant political advantages within the Council. Enhanced voting rights, priority access to new territories, preferential trade agreements. It's considered the ultimate demonstration of military precision. Maria looked up from her own calculations. Has anyone ever completed the challenge? Twice in the last century. The Korthak managed it 87 years ago, and the Draconians succeeded 32 years ago. Both times, the successful species gained dominant positions within their respective regions of space. The implications were staggering. If a human could complete the Impossible Shot Challenge, Earth wouldn't just regain respect within the galactic community, it would establish itself as a major military power worthy of recognition and fear. Elena was already working through the technical requirements in her head. We'd need specialized equipment beyond anything currently in Earth's inventory. The ranges involved exceed the capabilities of conventional projectile weapons. That's being addressed, Rodriguez assured her. Our research and development teams have been working on several prototype weapon systems that should meet the challenge requirements. The question is whether we can field operatives capable of using them effectively. David leaned back in his chair, his expression thoughtful. Sir, assuming we can handle the technical challenges, there's still the matter of psychology. The galactic community will be expecting us to fail. That could work in our favor. But it also means there won't be any margin for error. Which brings us to the real question, James added. Are we talking about a single-shooter scenario, or do we have the option of sending a team? Rodriguez's smile widened. The rules specify that each species can send up to 6 representatives for the demonstration events. Those representatives can compete individually or as a coordinated unit, depending on the specific challenge requirements. Alexandra understood immediately. You want all of us. I want the 6 most dangerous marksmen humanity has ever produced to show the galaxy exactly what our species is capable of when we're properly motivated. Rodriguez confirmed. The first demonstration will be about redemption. The second will be about establishing dominance. The third will be about sending a message that Earth is not to be underestimated. Yuki looked around the table at her fellow operatives. What kind of timeline are we working with for preparation? 5 weeks for training and equipment familiarization? The games run for 2 weeks. With the human demonstration scheduled for the final day. Maximum exposure, maximum impact. Maria raised a practical concern. What about support personnel? We'll need spotters, equipment technicians, intelligence analysts. You'll have whatever you need, Rodriguez promised. This mission has been designated as Earth's highest priority. Failure is not an option because failure would confirm every negative assumption the galactic community has made about our species. Elena spoke for the group. General, what you're proposing could fundamentally change Earth's position in the galaxy. Are we authorized to take whatever risks are necessary to ensure success? Rodriguez met each of their gazes in turn. You're authorized to do whatever it takes to demonstrate that humanity belongs among the galactic elite. The politicians and diplomats have had their chance. Now it's time for the warriors to speak for our species. The meeting continued for another 3 hours, covering technical specifications, training schedules, and contingency planning. By the time the operatives left the secure conference room, they understood that they weren't just preparing for a military demonstration. They were preparing to redefine humanity's place in the galaxy through superior performance under the most demanding conditions imaginable. The galaxy had mocked human clumsiness. Soon, they would learn to fear human precision. The atmospheric processors of Nexus Prime hummed with activity as representatives from across the galaxy gathered for the final day of the military games. The planet's 3 purple suns cast an alien glow across the massive arena complex, where 2 weeks of competitions had showcased the finest military capabilities of dozens of species. Attendance had swelled beyond all projections, with beings traveling from the farthest reaches of space to witness what many considered the ultimate demonstration of martial prowess. In the competitors' preparation area, the 6-member human team made final adjustments to their equipment with the focused intensity that had become their trademark over the past 5 weeks. The prototype weapons they carried represented the absolute pinnacle of Earth's technological achievement, each rifle customized to its user's specific requirements and capable of performance that exceeded anything in the standard galactic arsenal. Elena adjusted the scope on her weapon for the 1,000th time, her fingers moving with the unconscious precision of someone who had spent every waking hour for 5 weeks perfecting her craft. The rifle felt like an extension of her body, responding to minute adjustments in grip and stance with mathematical precision. Every variable had been calculated, every environmental factor accounted for, every possible failure mode analyzed and prepared for. David was running through his final mental calculations, reviewing atmospheric data and gravitational variations that would affect projectile trajectory across the 7-kilometer range of the Impossible Shot Challenge. His weapon incorporated technology that Earth scientists had developed specifically for this mission. A rail-assisted projectile system that could maintain accuracy over distances that conventional firearms couldn't reach. James checked his communication equipment one last time, ensuring that the team's coordination network was functioning perfectly. The British operative had spent weeks developing tactical coordination protocols that would allow the human team to function as a single, unified entity rather than 6 individual marksmen. Their success would depend as much on coordination as individual skill. Yuki reviewed the technical specifications of the arena's various challenge systems, making final adjustments to compensate for electromagnetic interference patterns that the galactic organizers had implemented to increase difficulty. Her role was to ensure that human technology could adapt in real time to any unexpected changes in the competition environment. Maria was focused on the psychological aspects of their performance, reviewing the profiles of the various galactic species who would be watching their demonstration. Understanding their audience was crucial because the human team's real objective wasn't just to succeed, it was to succeed in a way that would fundamentally alter how their species was perceived. Alexandra was monitoring galactic communication networks, tracking the betting odds and public sentiment surrounding the human demonstration. Initial reactions had been overwhelmingly dismissive, with most beings viewing the human request for a demonstration slot as an amusing curiosity rather than a serious military display. That attitude was exactly what the human team had been hoping for. 5 minutes to arena entry, came the announcement through their translation devices. The human team began their final movement toward the staging area, their equipment secured and their mental preparation complete. Around them, thousands of galactic spectators were taking their seats in the massive arena, eager to witness what many expected to be a repeat of humanity's earlier failure. The arena itself was a marvel of galactic engineering, capable of simulating dozens of different environmental conditions across its 50-square-kilometer expanse. Force fields could create atmospheric variations, gravity generators could alter local conditions, and holographic projectors could generate targets and obstacles that challenged even the most advanced military units. For the human demonstration, the arena had been configured to its most demanding settings. High Commander Veltar's voice resonated across the arena as he introduced the final event of the games. Esteemed beings, we conclude this cycle's military games with a demonstration by our newest galactic members. The human delegation has requested the opportunity to showcase their species' developing capabilities. The tone of barely concealed condescension was unmistakable, and waves of amused, chittering, harmonic resonance and luminescent flickering indicated that the assembled crowd shared Veltar's expectations. Humans were about to provide entertainment through their inevitable failure, and the galaxy was prepared to enjoy the show. Ambassador Chen watched from the diplomatic viewing section with carefully controlled emotions. She understood better than anyone how much was riding on the next hour's events. If the human team failed, Earth's position within the galactic community might never recover. If they succeeded beyond expectations, humanity could secure advantages that would benefit their species for generations. The human team entered the arena to polite but unenthusiastic applause. They moved with military precision, their formation designed to project competence and confidence despite the mockery they had endured for weeks. Each member carried themselves with the bearing of someone who had faced death in combat and emerged victorious, though their galactic audience interpreted their demeanor as hopeful bravado. The human demonstration will consist of 3 phases, Veltar announced. First, a standard accuracy assessment across multiple distances. Second, dynamic targeting while mobile. Third, if the humans choose to attempt it, the impossible shot challenge. Elena took position at the first firing line, facing targets positioned at distances ranging from 1 to 5 kilometers. The arena's atmospheric processors activated, creating wind patterns and pressure variations that would challenge even advanced galactic weapon systems. Electromagnetic interference began radiating from hidden generators designed to disrupt technological assistance systems. The first target was a simple circle, roughly 20 centimeters in diameter, positioned at the 1-kilometer mark. For galactic standards, this was considered an elementary challenge, roughly equivalent to what their juvenile military trainees might face during basic instruction. Elena raised her rifle with fluid precision, her breathing controlled and her stance perfect. The first shot rang out across the arena with the sharp crack of a projectile breaking the sound barrier. The target exploded in a shower of metallic fragments as the bullet struck dead center, creating a hole so perfectly positioned that arena sensors needed several seconds to confirm the hit. A murmur of mild approval rippled through the crowd. Even humans, it seemed, could occasionally succeed at simple tasks. Elena moved to the second target without pause, this one positioned at 2 kilometers and moving in a slow, predictable pattern. Her second shot followed within 30 seconds of the first, striking the moving target with the same devastating precision. The crowd's murmur grew slightly louder, though most beings still viewed the performance as adequate rather than impressive. The third target was 3 kilometers away and moving in a complex pattern designed to challenge advanced tactical computers. Elena tracked its movement for exactly 15 seconds, calculating trajectory and timing with the unconscious competence of someone who had performed similar calculations thousands of times under combat conditions. Her third shot intersected the target's path with mathematical precision, destroying it completely. By the time Elena reached the 5th target, positioned at the maximum range and moving erratically through a field of electromagnetic interference, the arena had fallen completely silent. No being present had expected a human to successfully engage targets under such demanding conditions, let alone do so with perfect accuracy. Elena's final shot struck home with the same devastating precision as her first, leaving no doubt about her capabilities. David took Elena's place as the second phase began, facing the dynamic targeting challenge from a mobile platform. The human team's coordination became apparent as David's platform began moving through the arena in a complex pattern while targets appeared and disappeared at random intervals across the entire range spectrum. What followed was a display of marksmanship that redefined galactic understanding of what individual combat capability could achieve. David engaged 16 targets in rapid succession, his shots coming so quickly that arena sensors could barely track the projectiles. Each hit was perfect, each target destroyed completely, each shot taken under conditions that would have challenged the most advanced galactic military units. James and Yuki demonstrated team coordination during the third phase, engaging multiple targets simultaneously while communicating through subtle hand signals that allowed them to coordinate their fire without electronic assistance. Maria provided overwatch and tactical guidance, her voice carrying across their communication network with calm precision that helped maintain perfect coordination under extreme pressure. But it was the final demonstration that stunned the galactic audience into absolute silence. Alexandra stepped up to the impossible shot challenge, facing a target that had defeated thousands of attempts by the galaxy's most elite marksmen. The reflective sphere began its erratic movement pattern, guided by an AI specifically designed to avoid incoming projectiles. Alexandra took her position with the casual confidence of someone who had never doubted the outcome. She tracked the target's movement for exactly 1 minute, her mind processing trajectory calculations that incorporated gravitational variations, atmospheric distortion, and electromagnetic interference. When she fired, the projectile followed a path so complex that arena computers needed several seconds to trace its route. The sphere exploded in a brilliant flash of reflected light as the bullet struck its exact center, completing the impossible shot challenge with a precision that exceeded even the legendary Draconian and Korthak successes. The arena fell silent for a full 10 seconds before erupting in a cacophony of shocked reactions from beings who had just witnessed the redefinition of military excellence. High Commander Veltar's voice carried a note of stunned respect as he announced the results. The human demonstration has been successful beyond all galactic standards. The impossible shot challenge has been completed with perfect precision, marking only the third such success in recorded galactic history. Ambassador Chen smiled as she watched the galactic representatives frantically revising their assessments of human military capability. Around the arena, beings who had been laughing at human clumsiness just hours earlier were now calculating how quickly they could establish military cooperation agreements with Earth. Elena's voice carried across the human team's communication network with quiet satisfaction. "Message delivered, General." Rodriguez's response came through their secure channel with unmistakable pride. "Outstanding work, team. You've just changed the course of human history. The galactic community would never again mistake human precision for human weakness." The mockery had ended, and the respect born from demonstrated superiority had begun. Earth's snipers had spoken, and the galaxy had listened with the attention that superior capability always commanded. In the weeks that followed, human military advisors would find themselves in unprecedented demand across galactic space. Trade agreements would be renegotiated in Earth's favor. Military cooperation treaties would grant humanity access to advanced technologies and strategic positions. The single demonstration had accomplished what years of diplomacy could never have achieved. But perhaps most importantly, no galactic being would ever again view human clumsiness as anything other than carefully calculated misdirection. The missed shot at the Galactic Council had become the foundation for one of the most effective strategic deceptions in recorded history, and humanity had established itself as a species that could not be underestimated under any circumstances. The galaxy had learned to fear human precision, and Earth had secured its place among the stars through the simple expedient of superior marksmanship, delivered at exactly the right moment.